Hello, my name is Fernanda Pena, and this is a presentation on retrieval practice as a learning strategy. Really quickly, I'm going to define self-testing slash retrieval practice as the practice of actively generating an answer, solution, or procedure, or retrieving information through self-testing. And this is going to be as opposed to passive re-exposure to practice problems or information. Cool. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about some of the research on retrieval practice. And so what we've found is that self-testing triggers retrieval processes that support learning, comprehension, and remembering through memory modification, which is basically making the information you practice retrieving more likely to be recallable again in the future and in different contexts. Along with this, other research shows that even unsuccessful retrieval attempts can be considerably more effective in the long term than simply rereading material. In addition to this, retrieval practice produced better recall in the long term, even if repeated study opportunities appear to be more effective in the short term. Also, these studies show that testing enhances the effectiveness of subsequent study opportunities, even when the current test conditions ensure learners will be incorrect the first time around. So what I kind of make of this is that if you come across a test problem or prompt or whatever, that is the most what in the world are we still speaking English here type of problem ever or prompt. Even attempting to solve it and getting it wrong helps in future study sessions. Now, I want to say this is all because of how closely related self-testing is to something called the generation effect, which is the long-term benefit gained from generating the answer, solution, or procedure versus being presented with that information already. Because simply being presented with that information is meaningless, essentially, in the long term. Personally, applying this learning strategy was largely for my chemistry class because I knew it was going to require a lot of study time. So when I was studying for exams, I would practice the end of chapter homework problems and attempt to generate the solution myself first. Only then, if I got it wrong, would I refer to my textbook or notes to try to figure it out. I would also attempt practice exams, and in either attempting the homework problems or the practice exams, I would try to recreate the testing conditions. And for this class, I would also use Notebook LM as a tool to create study guide questions generated from the assigned article readings to test myself on things like definitions, concepts, and findings. Moving on to the outcome, I found this learning strategy to be very effective. I've been more or less consistently getting high scores on my exams and quizzes, both in lab and discussion, because I've already practiced similar questions, or at the very least, the skills necessary to generate the solution. In general, I'm able to figure out questions more often using the memory I have from previous retrieval practice, right? And I do think it's important to note that I've combined self-testing with multiple other learning strategies this summer session. So maybe those results cannot be attributed solely to the self-testing strategy. No, the retrieval practice does not limit itself to practice questions like in my case. Instead, it can be adapted in a way where students try to generate an explanation of an answer, concept, or procedure using only their memory, like explaining something to a peer. And for humanities students, something like creating a mind map that outlines key concepts, subtopics, and their relationships without looking at notes would be a great adaptation. For essay writing, this could look like generating as many arguments as possible for or and against a position for different prompts. And in a musician's case, it's as simple as attempting to play a music piece without their music sheet. This goes to show that retrieval practice has the potential to be applied in many ways, and the most important part is to achieve that active recall, not just passive re-exposure. Thank you.